Okay. I start. Order members, those who have not been picked, you'll take round 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman, take the questions. Order members, let's have less conversations. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My first question.
There's no first question, only one question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker,
yes.
That one. Mr. Speaker, my question to the chairman is, how is he going to handle different the transmission of presidential elections so that this country will not suffer from further trust deficit on the commissioners, and also tell these members on Analytica, the contract to Analytica.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chair Budget.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Chair, my question relates to the election budget. Uganda has just spent about 30 billion in Kenya shillings to conduct their elections. Tanzania spent about 50 billion in their recent elections. In Kenya, every election cycle we always have pending bills. And these pending bills are so huge, mostly attributed to lawyers, legal fees. We have a pending bill of about 4 billion. If I look at your budgetary projections. So the question I'm asking you, why must we always have these huge pending bills attributed to lawyers? And now that you are new, you just took over. Have you done some audits on the previous pending bills that are accrued to lawyers, even before we begin the budget process? Thank you.
Thank you. Tongoyo.
Thank you. Chair, my question is...
Ngogo, is it you or me?
It's me. Ngogoyo.
Honorable Speaker, we have both Gogoyo and Tongoyo. Gogoyo.
Okay. Gogoyo.
Thank you. Chair IBC and the Commission, I have one question. Before your assumption to office, and even after assumption to office, there are individuals, members of certain political parties, who have confessed on mainstream media, on social media, that they will participate in rigging of election if their candidates do not have enough votes. What actions or what have you done, and especially to those ones who have done it, who are state officers, well-known members, who are members of certain and specific political parties?
The Honorable Tongoyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've got two questions. Speaker, they are so brief. They're short. One is actually on, it is on the public domain, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Cabinet had talked about a possibility of the 2027 election being nullified if we go under the current arrangement. What is the position of the chair? What is the comment on that?
There was no legal basis for that.
Thank you.
You don't even need to go to him. There is nothing in law that warrants us to even discuss that.
Okay, now the question is, Honorable Speaker, Honorable the Chair, the issue of relaying the results of the presidential results, of course, the court had ruled that the finality of election is the polling center. And should be so, of course, in all 6 elections. For the presidential election currently, the results are relayed from the polling center to the returning officer at national. Why don't you leverage on the same technology, same practice, so that we reduce the human interaction to have at least the results, at least for governors or maybe senators, relayed from the polling center to the returning officer at county levels to reduce in issues of time and human manipulation. Like it happened in Narok, actually the certificate were issued in the street somewhere in Nairobi. I don't know whether that one has been picked, Chair.
Yes, it has.
Yes. Are there a plan? And if yes, what is possibly the constraint and the challenges?
Who is the next member for Seme?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is, why does IEBC seem either unwilling or unable to take action when electoral laws are openly and flagrantly violated? Two examples: voter bribery, when people are actually lined up in broad daylight and given money. Two, when there are campaigns before the elections are actually, the campaign period is announced, full with billboards and posters, and this go on, and the same people later on actually go and contest, and nobody brings out the issue that they had violated the law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Haika.
This is, it is me, Mr. Speaker.
Who?
Here, Mwashako. Yes, it is.
Mwashako.
Unfortunately, the...
Haika wewe uko kwa list lakini nyuma. Sasa ni Mwashako.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, my question is to the chair. I'm happy that he said that there will be a delay in boundary delimitation. There are these 27 protected constituencies in our constitution. There is a lot of anxiety from members of those 27 constituencies. I would like the chair to assure those 27 constituencies that they'll go to the election in 2027 as constituencies without a problem. And what will be his take, trying to, even if they'll do the boundary review, and to hear his position whether it will be okay to remove a right that has been given by a constitution to, for these constituencies to lose their identity if anything is going to happen in future. Could he speak to us so that we can continue protecting those constituencies? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mwalio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the chair. We as members of parliament, we would like to help the IBC to have an easier way of movement to the constituencies so that they can be able to register the voters. But they are afraid that if we give them the cars for CDF, you will have questions to them. Because I tried. Can you give them a leeway that they can be able to approach us to assist them with the movement? Because if they stay only in the headquarters, they only get like one person per day. But if they move to the sub-locations, then we'll be able to register a lot of people.
Thank you. Kebra.
Thank you, Speaker. The chairman has talked about interagency outreach. Yet there are thousands of IDs of the Kenyans lying at the headquarters, regional headquarters. What are they doing to ensure that people get their IDs so that they can vote in this election? I'm saying this again because in my constituency, people have been denied their rights to vote because of verification. That is the Nubian community. They are born in Kenya, they are Kenyans, and they are never given ID, so they cannot exercise their democratic rights. So can you do something on that? Thank you.
Mbiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To Chair Erastus Ethicon. During election, people play different rules. Some do not follow the rule at all. Some do follow the rules. Now, in election malpractice or offenses, what really influenced your decision whether to fine a candidate or suspend him?
Thank you. My question is on the presidential elections. With the advancement in technology, what is so difficult in actually considering the polling station results as the final results? Then we take the shortest time possible to announce the presidential results. Thank you.
Aika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to inform the IBC chair that I chair the committee on diaspora, therefore my question will be on diaspora. Mr. Speaker, as per the presentation just made on matters voters registration, it has been stated that for diaspora, registration will take place in January 2027. And that is if there'll be budgetary allocation. You know, if there'll be availability of budgetary allocation. So then my question is, what if the budget will not be favorable? Will there be that voter registration? And given the amount of money, the remittances that the diasporans are sending back to the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And if you can allow me, I have one more question. IBC has been, there was a time you are updating every weekly, daily, the number of voters who are registering. Of late, we are not seeing the updates on per sub-county, per county, on how many people are registering daily. What is happening?
Chairman, back to you. If you are assigning to your colleagues to help you, it is good to say this question will be, there are 10. Assign them, answer those that you can, then they can come in.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think I will assign some questions to my colleagues. I think, once again, Commissioner Nderitu, you can elaborate on the issue of registration of voters, touching on the updates, why the updates stopped, and when are we resuming, then the issue of diaspora. The issue of result transmission, CEO Marjan. Is there anything we can do to fast track, given the technology evolution? The issue of interagency, MP for Kibra, and that issue of IDs lying in headquarters. And of course, the other special interest groups like the Nubian community. So I will begin with some, and some I will assign directly to my. So the issue of result transmission, I think if we look at our electoral processes and the electoral laws, our elections are actually largely manual. And we rely, for the case of presidential, we rely on Form 34A, which is consolidated at the constituency level to Form 34B, and then it's that Form 34B that is brought to the National Tallying Center. And this is because we need not only account for the results at the tallying center, but we also need to verify. That requirement of verifiability, that is why we have the National Tallying Center. So there's nothing that changes there. Just to make sure we have a look together with the party agents. We have a look at the results once more and to satisfy ourselves that they are the correct. So we will do, because this question of result transmission has come up a number of times, and I think we will need to explain that process. So if we could have another session with the members of parliament, either at the committee level, we can be able to demonstrate to you how the results moves up to, from the tallying center up to the national tallying center, up to when it's announced. So in terms of Honorable Attorney's question on the cost of elections and the pending bills, our CEO, you can answer that question. On the pending bills, because we joined and we inherited pending bills, and of course I'm sure you can look at that question on the cost of elections and pending bills. In terms of Honorable Gongoyo's question on rigging, on allegations of rigging, I think last year is when we had those allegations and those claims. And for us, those allegations, we cannot control so much when you members of parliament can say on the podium when you're addressing whichever crowd. But what we can do is to interact with you to find out on what basis, because there's no legal basis for you to make those allegations. We've looked at our electoral system with all the checks and balances. We don't see anywhere where somebody will come and rig elections within our areas of control, which is the polling stations, the tallying centers. We have not seen that. And even during the recently concluded by-elections, most of the observer groups did point out to the fact that we did that election in terms of the operational deployment, the tallying, the counting and the tallying, we did it very well. What was being complained about was the malpractices around the whole ecosystem. Yeah? Those incidences of people going to the villages at night to incentivize some voters, and some, of course, intimidation, some forms of this kind of malpractices, which sometimes, in all fairness, surely, you can't expect the IBC to be everywhere all the time. We have a responsibility to manage the elections.
Yes.
And sometimes.
Hold on, Chairman. Yes, Minority Whip. Where's the mic for Millie?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would ask the chair to spend some time with members and they'll tell you the challenges that emanate from your end. There will be problems that will emanate from politicians, but I can give you one perfect example, which happened in my own constituency. That what happens is after you've done the elections, the votes are counted and they are sealed. What your presiding officers do, they take plus the results, seal them in the box, and disappear. They'll bring the box, then they cannot be opened, so they can't be counted. So what do? They look if they think you are a stronger candidate. They do that in all they just buy your officers. So they do it in your strongholds. So my results were counted less, I think, 6 polling stations, because they were all sealed. So if it weren't that I was stronger, much stronger, I would have lost just because results were not counted. So what do you have to do? Wait to go to court. What happens when you go to court? It depends on who has more money to bribe. So I think as members, and they'll tell you where there are, glaring deficiencies on your side, which means, for instance, those 6 presiding officers should not even be employed this time by IBC.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Mili. I think if we just focus on that so that as I move to the other questions, I think one of the weaknesses that we noticed, because one of the first things that I asked was precisely why was the Magarini elections nullified? Who was responsible? Who contributed to the nullification of those elections? And if it were IBC staff, then what actions were taken against them? Was there any investigation? Was there any prosecution? And so, Again, it points to the issue of the legal reform. If we cannot punish our own electoral officials, and most of these people, we employ them temporarily during that window, and we cannot hold them to account the moment they have done what they have done and they have left our temporary employment, and the requirement is that somebody has to investigate, somebody has to prosecute, and somebody has to punish. That is where we need to look at the law. But if we have that information, obviously, they will not find any mercy under the current commission. So report to us those ones who committed those malpractices, and we will deal with them accordingly. So, again, the issue of unwillingness or being unable to take action, even where there are voter bribery or those electoral malpractices. You see, the law is designed in such a way that, for example, IBC is supposed to implement or enforce the Electoral Code of Conduct. But there are limitations also to that extent. When we gazette an election, that is when now the candidates whom we have registered sign the Electoral Code of Conduct, and the political parties who are sponsoring those parties subscribe to that Code of Conduct. The independent candidates subscribe. So then we constitute what we call the Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee. And that committee is chaired by one of our commissioners who is at the level of a judge of the High Court. It is that committee that sits now and receives complaints with, of course, evidence, and then it deliberates on those issues and makes a determination on what kind of punishment to administer. But from our last by-election, after the fact, that is when we hear complaints. That's when now people complain, there was this, there was that, and yet we did not receive any formal complaints so that then we can summon those people. And remember, in an electoral context, we're also dealing with a lot of work. We have our officers on the ground trying to register candidates, trying to set up the materials, the polling stations. At the same time, we are expected again to go to the villages, check out who's bribing who at night. At the same time, we are supposed to deal with the incidences of violence. I don't know whose gangs are fighting against whose gangs. So surely, we need to do something as Kenyans, while understanding that elections must represent that free will of the Kenyan voter. That we give them a chance, we give them a conducive electoral environment so that everybody, enjoys the whole exercise, free of violence, free of intimidation, free of bribery, and all those malpractices. So we also have our own limitations as a commission. And of course, if you commit what we call electoral offenses under the Electoral Offences Act, it is the ODPP that is supposed to investigate. We are also party, we report incidences, and then that also takes another process, another course of itself. So we are also limited in as much as we want to police and to make sure elections are done in a conducive environment free of violence, intimidation, and bribery. The issue of protected constituency, I don't know whether Professor Adol is here. Professor, please answer to that. The issue of helping IBC to use CDF government vehicles to improve movement. We will appreciate that. But then, of course, there are challenges around us that happening. Of course, previously we used to use government vehicles to conduct...
Kombe, what is it? Is this Kombe? They are responding to questions already asked. What is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have heard Magarini being mentioned.
You've heard?
Magarini being mentioned. And the culprit is here. Mr. Speaker, may I take this opportunity to thank IBC.
You are out of order. Take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat.
No maiden speech. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear that there was no proper nullification in Magarini in the 2022 elections, and I explain. Mr. Speaker, if you will allow me.
You are out of order. Take your seat.
If you will allow me, I will explain.
Take your seat. Magarini is not on trial here. The fact that Magarini is mentioned doesn't give you an opportunity to say the things you want to say.
Okay, thank you. I think, Honorable Speaker, I will allow my colleagues to respond to the questions. Professor Adol on the issue of boundaries, Commissioner Ann.
Professor, you have been assigned a question to answer after you, Ann. You have been assigned a question to answer after you, Marijan. In that order.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the question was on the 27 constituencies that are considered to have been protected from 2012. That protection was only interim. And the understanding was that in the next review, they will be considered appropriately with all the other constituencies. So if it is found out that a particular constituency is too small and cannot be sustained, it will be dealt with accordingly within the specifications of the boundary limitation. Now, as it stands, it is unlikely that we are going to carry out a boundary delimitation in time for 2027 elections. And since we will not be able to do that, there is no way that someone can say that those constituencies will be interfered with. Then it will depend on the circumstances. If we end up with an increase in the number of constituencies beyond 290 now, then perhaps many, if not all of them, might end up being sustained. Now, it should be understood like this. We have 27 constituencies that were adjudged to be too small. The reverse is that there is about 30 constituencies also that were left too large in order for these small ones to exist. So when the limitation comes, all of that will be taken in its stride. And if a constituency needs to die, I hope we Kenyans will make that decision. I hope we will not get to that level, that we will say that a particular constituency dies. But you, Parliament, will have to make big decisions on whether you want that to happen. Thank you, sir.
And Ritu.
Thank you, Speaker. I think I had two questions, but one of them on the cost of election, Commissioner Hassan is ready to respond. But allow me to speak on the question of diaspora registration. First of all, currently we have 12 countries where Kenya has registered voter in the diaspora. And in this particular election cycle, we want to increase a few countries on top. Maybe our mapping is up to 17 countries. And within countries, like for example, the US, we establish more polling stations so that we are able to reach the Kenyans in the diaspora, because we recognize, as one of the members said, that they are a great contributor to the growth of our economy. The concern was, why are we pushing registration to the next year? It has only to do with timelines and the budgeting. And there's no way the budget will not be there. This particular period, we shall be mapping those stations and then preparing the equipment and everything. Then, when we are doing the second mass voter registration, then we shall capture diaspora as part of the voter registration. Currently, we have over 10, around 11,000 Kenyans who are registered as voters in the diaspora. We expect that we shall, by opening more stations, we shall increase as many stations and as many voters as possible. One of the issues we are proposing is probably looking at how results are transmitted from the diaspora. And I know Marijan, as he answers that question, you address the issue of how are we envisaging the issue of transmission of those results and voting from the diaspora. The other question that the chairman asked me to respond is the issue of IDs and the interagency collaboration between us and the National Registration Bureau. We have an active MOU that we are signing between us and NRB, specifically on data sharing, so that they are able to share with us where IDs are and where they have not been issued. So we are going to work together, especially during the mass voter registration. We are going to station our clerks together with the registration officers, especially those who are distributing IDs for people who are already registered as citizens. So we are going to match them so that we are able to work together. And it's true we have an MOU that we are developing, especially on the area of data